In my day, when the coach criticized you, it's called good coaching. When people criticize players today, it's called hating. And that's why these bombs be driving me crazy. Can play basketball 2 days in a row. We played basketball 2 days in a row. They got better equipment. They got better equipment. They got better medicals. They got cold plunges. They got hyperbaric chambers. They got...
In Charles Barkley's era, getting screamed by a coach wasn't considered abuse. It was considered part of becoming great. If a coach got in your face, challenged your toughness, embarrassed you in practice, or demanded more effort, players accepted it as a price of competing at the highest level. Barkley believes the modern NBA has completely changed that mentality, and the thing that frustrates him most is how the language itself changed with it. What his generation called hard coaching, today's players often call toxic behavior, disrespect, or personal attacks. To Barkley, that shift represents something much bigger than basketball. It represents a league he believes has become softer mentally, where criticism is treated like cruelty and accountability gets mistaken for hostility. That's why he constantly clashes with modern player culture, because in his mind, the pressure, yelling, and brutal honesty from coaches were never meant to destroy players. They were meant to prepare them for championship-level competition. Barkley sees today's NBA as a league where too many players want empowerment without confrontation, stardom without discomfort, and leadership without being challenged publicly. And he believes that single cultural shift explains why the modern game feels emotionally different from the one he grew up surviving in.
About coaching, in my day, when the coach criticized you, it's called good coaching. When people criticize players today, it's called hating. And that's why these bombs be driving me crazy. Like, dude, that's what coaches, their job is to criticize. It ain't criticism, it's coaching.
Charles Barkley believes the modern NBA completely misunderstood what made the Golden State Warriors dynasty special. In his eyes, teams saw the success of players like Stephen Curry and assumed the lesson was simply shoot more threes, when the real lesson was that Golden State had once-in-a-generation talent, elite ball movement, toughness, and players willing to sacrifice for each other. Instead, Barkley thinks the league copied only the easiest part, standing outside and firing jump shots, while abandoning the physical identity that once defined basketball. To him, that's where the softness started becoming obvious. Big men stopped wanting to dominate the paint. Young players stopped developing post games. Teams became obsessed with spacing and efficiency charts instead of toughness and fundamentals. And Barkley sees the same mentality everywhere else too, especially in load management and superstar culture. When healthy stars sit out games while fans spend hundreds of dollars hoping to watch them play, Barkley takes it personally because he comes from an era where players believed stepping on the floor was an obligation, not a choice. That's why he constantly sounds angry when talking about today's NBA. He doesn't see separate problems. He sees one connected issue spreading through the entire league, a culture that became too comfortable, too protected, and too unwilling to embrace discomfort, criticism, or physical sacrifice the way older generations of players believed real greatness required.
When everybody tried to model themselves after the Golden State Warriors.
Because here's what the rest of the NBA completely missed. The Golden State Warriors didn't become a dynasty just because they shot threes. They became a dynasty because they had something nobody else on earth had. Stephen Curry changing the geometry of basketball itself, Klay Thompson stretching defenses to the breaking point, and Draymond Green anchoring everything with defense, toughness, and intelligence. According to Charles Barkley, the rest of the league copied the shooting but ignored the rare talent, chemistry, sacrifice, and physical edge that actually made Golden State unbeatable, and that misunderstanding turned the modern NBA into a league full of teams trying to imitate greatness without understanding what created it in the first place.
7 teams shooting more threes in the last 2 years than the Golden State Warriors.
17.
Think about how insane the logic became. Stephen Curry is widely considered the greatest shooter basketball has ever seen, and Klay Thompson might be the second greatest. The Golden State Warriors didn't create a system the league could realistically copy. They had a once-in-history cheat code built around 2 shooters no other franchise could reproduce. But instead of understanding that, the rest of the NBA looked at Golden State and decided every team should start playing like Curry. Every player started launching threes. Every offense became spacing and analytics. And nowhere was that obsession pushed further than the Houston Rockets under executive Daryl Morey, whose Morey ball philosophy turned basketball into a math equation built almost entirely around three-pointers and layups. The result? A according to Charles Barkley, was a league full of teams trying to imitate shooters they could never become, sacrificing physical play, post dominance, and basketball variety in the process. And some of the numbers that came out of that experiment were so extreme they almost looked ridiculous.
That 6 other teams would shoot more threes than the 3 greatest shooters that ever lived. That's stupid. And
7 teams. 7 different NBA franchises convinced themselves they should shoot more three-pointers than the Golden State Warriors team that had Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant on the floor together at the same time. That's how deep the analytics obsession went. Teams looked at the greatest shooting dynasty basketball had ever seen, and somehow decided the lesson was that everyone should shoot even more than they did. And then Charles Barkley dropped the one word that made every analytics department in the league cringe because it cut through all the spreadsheets, percentages, and efficiency charts instantly. Asinine.
I want to make it clear, I'm not the old man, get off my lawn.
Asinine. Not misguided. Not outdated. Asinine. That was Charles Barkley's response to teams blindly copying the Golden State Warriors without having anything close to the talent that made Golden State special. And this is usually the point where people stop listening because they assume it's just another older legend complaining about the modern game, another get-off-my-lawn speech about how basketball used to be tougher. But Barkley shut that argument down immediately because his criticism was never about hating change. It was about hating imitation without understanding. In his eyes, the NBA saw Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson break basketball with once-in-a-generation shooting talent and somehow convince itself every roster in the league should start playing the exact same way. Barkley's point was simple. If you don't have a greatest shooting backcourt in history, trying to recreate their style by launching endless threes isn't innovation. It's stupidity disguised as analytics.
You take your size advantage out the game. Why do I want guys who are physically bigger and stronger? Why did I want them out on the perimeter? That helps me as a defender.
Because Charles Barkley's argument was never really about the old NBA being prettier, tougher, or more entertaining. It was about something colder and far more practical: advantages. Basketball, in Barkley's eyes, is about finding physical advantages and punishing them relentlessly. That's why he gets so frustrated watching modern players voluntarily abandon the easiest advantage in the sport. If you're bigger, attack the paint. If you're stronger, overpower people inside. If you can dominate physically, why would you stand 30 feet away settling for contested jump shots? To Barkley, the modern obsession with three-pointers often looks insane because teams willingly move away from high-percentage physical dominance in exchange for lower-percentage perimeter gambling. In his mind, the dumbest thing a player can do is willingly give up an advantage they already have. And that's exactly what he believes much of today's NBA does every night, chasing analytics instead of exploiting the simple reality of size, strength, and pressure basketball.
In the NBA, if he would post up more, because you can't guard him with one guy.
With that for a second, because it completely flips the modern basketball conversation. When a 7-footer drifts out to the three-point line, defenses don't panic, they relax. The most terrifying thing about a giant is what he can do near the rim, where size, strength, and touch become almost impossible to stop. Pull that same player 25 feet away from the basket, and suddenly the defense gets exactly what it wanted for free. That's why Charles Barkley becomes so frustrated watching dominant big men fall in love with perimeter basketball. And no player embodies that frustration more than Joel Embiid. In Barkley's eyes, Embiid is a perfect example of a superstar voluntarily giving away his greatest advantage. At 7 feet tall with elite footwork, touch, and strength, Embiid becomes almost unguardable when he establishes position on the block. Single coverage doesn't work. Double teams open the floor. He can overpower smaller defenders and outskill bigger ones. Yet too often, Barkley believes Embiid settles for fading jumpers and perimeter shots instead of physically dominating the paint possession after possession the way legends like Shaquille O'Neal once did. To Barkley, that's not evolution. It's surrendering the easiest mismatched basketball can offer.
He shoots a three, I guarantee you the defender is like, thank you. You can't guard that guy in the post.
Thank Barkley genuinely believes Joel Embiid has a talent to be the best player in basketball, and that's exactly why he gets so frustrated watching him settle for perimeter jump shots. In Barkley's eyes, Embiid is already almost impossible to stop when he commits to dominating the paint because no single defender in the league has a combination of size, strength, and skill to handle him consistently near the rim. But every time Embiid drifts outside hunting step-back threes or fadeaway jumpers, Barkley believes is actually helping the defense instead of punishing it. The shot selection lowers the physical pressure, removes foul trouble from defenders, slows